Hello and welcome to my channel. There's a reason that you found your way here, whether you're looking for insight or perspective, or just need something to listen to. I'm grateful for you taking the time to be here. As per usual, my disclaimer is that I am no expert. I'm just a random person on YouTube with a few thoughts and ideas rattling in my head. Agree or disagree, it's all good. Feel free to leave a comment because I would love to hear from you. I want to talk about some things that I think are at the root of a lot of our exhaustion. And it's not actually our schedules, our responsibilities, or even the hard things that have happened to us. It's the stories we're telling ourselves, the running commentary, the interpretations, the meanings we've assigned to who we are and what our lives are supposed to look like. A lot of the weight that we carry isn't even ours to bear. We make them heavier by the way we narrate it to ourselves. I want to look at ways of loosening some of that. About looking at the stories we live inside of and asking honestly, is this one true? Is it fiction? Is this one still serving me? Or have I just been telling it for so long that I forgot it was a story to begin with? We feel very confident that we see ourselves clearly, that our self-assessments are grounded and fair. But the truth is, most of us are working from a story about ourselves that got written a long time ago, often by people and circumstances that had no business writing it, and we've been living as if that story is just fact. Maybe at a young age you were labeled as the difficult one, the one who wasn't quite as smart, not as capable, or needed too much. Maybe you were the responsible one, the caretaker, the one who held it together. And that became so core to your identity that you forgot you're also allowed to let someone else take care of you. Maybe you failed at something once and quietly decided that failure was information about your permanent nature, rather than a single event in ongoing life. These stories shape everything. They shape what we try for and what we don't, what we ask for and what we silently decide we don't deserve. They shape who we think we're allowed to be in relationships, at work, or in our own homes. And the devious thing about them is that they feel like self-awareness. They feel like honesty, and we tell ourselves, I'm just being realistic about my limitations. But a lot of the time, we're not being realistic. We're being loyal to an old narrative. We're protecting a story because it's familiar, even when it's small, even when it costs us. The questions we're sitting with are, what is the story you tell about yourself most often? What's the version of yourself you keep returning to? Where did that story come from? Who told it first? Because often when we trace it back, we find that the source wasn't actually reliable. It was a parent who was also struggling, a teacher who didn't see us clearly, a peer group that needed someone to be the bottom of the hierarchy. It was a moment that got generalized into a conclusion. You are allowed to revise a story, not by pretending things didn't happen, but by deciding they don't get to be the whole narrative. One chapter doesn't define the book. Let's talk about comparison, because I think it's one of the most underestimated sources of suffering in modern life. And it's gotten so much harder to manage in an age where we have constant curated access to other people's highlight reels. Comparison is sneaky because it doesn't always feel like comparison. You see someone's life, their relationships, their career, their body, their apparent ease and happiness, and something inside you tightens a little. You don't necessarily think, I wish I had that. It's a much more subtle feeling. It's more like a quiet undermining of whatever you have. Suddenly, what felt fine a minute ago feels inadequate. And here's the thing, comparison almost never operates on fair terms. We compare our insides to other people's outsides. We compare our worst moments to their best presentations. We compare where we are to where they appear to be, with no knowledge of the path they took, the trade-offs they made, and the things they're not showing. There is a version of comparison that can be useful when it's aspirational in a healthy way, when it shows you something to move toward, without making you feel wrong for where you are. But we all know that's not the comparison we're dealing with most of the time. Most of the time, it's the corrosive kind, the kind that makes you feel that you've fallen behind. Like life is a race you didn't know you'd entered, and somehow everyone else got a head start. This connects to something deeper, which is the idea that there's a correct timeline for your life. That certain things should have happened by a certain age, that if you haven't hit those markers, the relationship, the career milestone, the house, the kids, the clarity about who you are, that something has gone wrong. But that framework is borrowed. We didn't come up with it from inside ourselves. It was handed to us by culture, by family expectations, by social comparison. And it's worth examining whether it actually reflects what you value or whether it's just a script you inherited. Your life doesn't have to look like anyone else's. If that sounds obvious, it's supposed to be. And yet we spend enormous amounts of emotional energy measuring ourselves against a template we never consciously chose. What if you put the measuring stick down? Not permanently, not dramatically, just for now. And ask yourself, what does my life feel like when I'm not comparing it to anyone else's? What's actually good here? What do I actually want when I'm not influenced by what I think I'm supposed to want? Those questions have more useful answers than the comparison ever does. Give yourself some time to answer them honestly. This one is a little quieter, and I want to speak to it gently because I think it goes unaddressed a lot, and I think that silence makes it heavier. There is a specific kind of grief that doesn't get talked about much because it doesn't have a clear loss at the center. Nothing particularly dramatic happened, but somewhere along the way, the life you imagined for yourself, the version where things went a certain way, where you made certain choices, where you became a certain kind of person, that life didn't materialize. And you're living a different one instead. Sometimes it's a relationship that ended. Sometimes it's a path you didn't take, or couldn't take, or that closed before you reached it. Sometimes it's an earlier version of yourself. A braver, more open, or less worn down version. Sometimes it's just the quiet realization that you're not where you thought you'd be, and you're not sure how to feel about that. This is real loss, and it deserves real acknowledgement. Not theatrical mourning, but honest recognition. Yeah, you thought things would turn out differently. That matters. And it's okay to grieve it. What often happens instead is we bypass the grief entirely. We tell ourselves we're fine, or that it's self-indulgent to be sad about something that isn't even a concrete loss, or that we should be grateful for what we have. Gratitude is genuinely valuable, but it's not a substitute for grief. You can hold both. You can be genuinely grateful for your life and also quietly sad about the roads not taken. Allowing yourself to grieve something isn't the same as dwelling in it. It's actually the opposite. When we let ourselves feel the loss honestly, when we stop pretending it doesn't exist, we stop having to spend all that energy maintaining the pretense. We stop being haunted by something we won't look at directly. The path through grief is grief. There's no shortcut around it. But it does move. It always moves when we let it. It softens. It becomes less of a presence and more of an occasional visitor. And what's on the other side of it is a kind of peace that bypassing never gets you to. So if there's something you've been not allowing yourself to grieve, something that sits in the background and occasionally makes the present feel a little gray, I hope that you'll start to give yourself permission to acknowledge it. You don't have to do anything with it. Just let it be real. I want to draw a distinction that I think is really important and kind of under-discussed. What is the difference between resting and numbing? Because we often treat them like the same thing, and they're really not. Numbing is what we do when we're depleted and we need the feeling to stop. It's that third hour of scrolling on your phone after we've already seen everything. It's watching something we're not really engaged in just to fill the space. It's eating or drinking past the point of pleasure, just to blunt the edge of something. There is a humanness in numbing, and sometimes it's all we have the capacity for, but it doesn't restore anything. It pauses the discomfort without addressing it, and we wake up the next morning just as depleted, sometimes even more. Rest is different. Rest is actually restorative. It fills something back up. And the interesting thing is that what counts as rest is really up to the individual. It's not the same for everyone. For some people, genuine rest is a quiet night at home with a book. For others, it's time in nature, or a long conversation with someone they feel safe with, or making something with their hands or physical movement. Rest is whatever leaves you feeling more like yourself than when you started. The question worth asking honestly is, how much of your downtime is actually restoring you? Most of the time, it doesn't even look like we're running on empty. We come out with a kind of dulled out quality to the days, where we have this persistent low-grade flatness about us. And part of that is because we're not actually recovering between the demands. We're just numbing between them. Real rest requires a willingness to be a little bored, to be a little quiet, to let your mind wander without immediately filling the space. That's uncomfortable at first, especially if you're not used to it. We've trained ourselves to treat stillness as something to be fixed. But stillness is where your nervous system actually gets to discharge, where your thoughts settle and your creativity resurfaces, and you start to remember who you are underneath all the noise. You can't get there through a scream. You have to be willing to just be for a minute without anything coming in. And do you know when would be a good time to practice giving yourself some rest? Right here, right now. I want to talk about the voice. Yes, that voice. You know the one. The one that offers commentary on everything you do. The one that tells you that your work isn't good enough, that you said the wrong thing, that everyone else has it more together than you do, that you should be further along, that you're too much, or not enough. That voice is incredibly familiar to most people, and a lot of us have made a crucial error with it. We've confused it with honesty. We think that because it's harsh, it must be accurate, that if it were kind to us, it would be delusional, that the critical voice is the realistic one. But here's what's actually true. The inner critic is not a neutral, objective voice. It's a voice that developed, usually early, under specific conditions, often as a way of preempting external criticism. If you criticize yourself first, harshly enough, maybe the real criticism will hurt less. Maybe you'll catch and fix your flaws before anyone else does. The inner critic often started as a form of protection. The problem is it got stuck. It kept running the same program past the point where it was useful, and now it just narrates everything you do in the harshest possible terms, not because it's being honest, but because it doesn't know how to do anything else. Recognizing that the inner critic is a part of you, not the whole of you, and it's not the most accurate part of you. You can hear it without obeying it. You can notice it the way you'd notice a car alarm going off down the street. It's real and it's present. A little annoying, but not actually about you. There's a practice that I think is really powerful and also a little disarming. Try applying the same standard to yourself that you'd apply to someone you love. If your closest friend came to you with the thing you're beating yourself up about, the mistake, the imperfection, the gap between where they are and where they want to be, how would you speak to them? I'm guessing not the way the critic speaks to you. So why does that person get your compassion and you don't? That's a genuine question, not a rhetorical one. It's worth sitting with, because most of us apply a wildly different standard to ourselves than we would to anyone we care about. And we've just accepted that as normal. But it's not neutral. It has costs. It shapes your confidence, your willingness to try things, your capacity for joy, your ability to recover from difficulty. You deserve the same grace you'd extend to someone you love. That's not just a nice idea. That's being fair to yourself. The last thing I want to talk about in this video is letting go, because I think it's one of the most misunderstood ideas in the whole space of personal growth. Letting go gets framed as something you do to things that don't matter anymore, like you let go of a grudge because the person wasn't worth it anyway, or you let go of an old dream because it was naive. Like letting go is a kind of dismissal. But real letting go isn't dismissal. Real letting go is the opposite. It's being able to hold something, how much it mattered, how much it cost you, how much you wanted it, and release your grip on it anyway. Not because it didn't matter, but because clinging on to it isn't serving you. Clinging takes a lot of energy, holding on to anger or old hurt, or the way things should have been, or who someone was supposed to be. It costs you something every day, just a quiet, ongoing expenditure. You're spending energy that could be yours on something that isn't nourishing you anymore. Letting go doesn't erase what happened. Doesn't mean you're okay with something that hurt you. Doesn't mean you trust again automatically or pretend things were different than they were. It just means you're choosing to stop letting that thing take up space in your present. I think it's worth being honest that this is often not a single decision. It's more like a practice. You let go, and then you notice you've picked it back up, and you put it down again, and pick it up, and the cycle repeats. That's not failure. That's what letting go actually looks like. It's a direction, not a destination. There's also something about impermanence here that I find quietly comforting, even though it can feel unsettling at first. Nothing stays exactly as it is. The difficult season you're in right now is not permanent. Neither is the good one, which is its own kind of bittersweet, but it means that no state is final. No version of yourself is fixed. No closed chapter is the last one. Things change. We adapt. We evolve. And there's enormous freedom in that once you stop fighting it. If I had to name what all of this has been about, is that a lot of what's wearing us out isn't the external stuff. It's the internal noise, the old stories, the comparisons, the unacknowledged grief, the numbing instead of resting, the critic running at full volume, the grip we can't quite seem to loosen, and the work behind it all, the quiet, ongoing, unglamorous work. It's in your way of noticing. That's really it. Noticing what's true and what's just a story, what's rest and what's avoidance, what's yours to carry and what you've been hauling out of habit. You don't have to fix all of it right away. You don't have to fix any of it. Today is just for being here in this quiet and letting some of the noise settle. The version of you that's on the other side of that noise, the one that isn't running on a script, that isn't performing, that isn't managing a critic or measuring against a yardstick. That version is still there. You just have to get a little quiet to hear it. So let yourself get quiet. Let the day fall away. Let your body be heavy and warm and held. Let your mind do its thing without chasing it or fighting it. You're okay. You're here. That's more than enough. Keep being you, and I'll see you again.